Okay, so good evening, everyone. We shall begin with a session now. That is APIs 101 with Postman. And yeah, so is my video visible, ma'am?
Yes,
Achal, ma'am?
Shivam, it's visible. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm 𝗄𝗶𝘁𝗵, and yeah, let's get on with the presentation. Okay, so APIs 101 with Postman, and an event which lets you dig deeper into the world of APIs to get to know, to promote the API literacy. This event is specially designed for the ones who have just began their path in development purposes, like maybe, web development or ML developments or Android development, speed, anything. So first of all, I would like to thank Postman for giving me this opportunity to share this knowledge with you and to get you started in the world of APIs and stuff. And also thanks to HackSlash Club, HackSlash Club at NIT Patna for providing me with the community, the platform to create the audience and to make this event a success. So yeah, let's get started. Well, as for who am I? I'm 𝗄𝗶𝘁𝗵, Postman student expert and a student at National Institute of Technology, Patna, a second year CSE undergrad. And yeah, this is my LinkedIn profile. You may find it later after the event. And let's start with the agenda for today's meeting. So in the meeting today, will be, it's like just API 101. It's a beginner level introduction to what APIs is and how you can use one, how you can leverage the Postman platform to develop and to test your APIs. So for this meeting, we'll be starting with intro to APIs in Postman, intro to request and responses, which are basically the building blocks of any APIs. So we'll cover that and trying things out. Yeah, this session surely is going to be an interesting one because we'll be trying with a lab hands-on session as well. And fourth will be follow-up resources to get you started to carry forward your own journey in this world of API. And finally, we'll be having the Q&A session at the last. And most interestingly, there's some exciting surprise for you awaiting at the end. So stay tuned. And yeah, let's get going further. So what exactly is an API? So this analogy, this is personally my favorite one. So what is an API? So now here you go. Suppose, imagine yourself going to a restaurant. Okay. And there are you, this one. Yep. There is the waiter and there's the chef. So what you do is, as you go in the restaurant, you have your seat. The waiter comes up to you with a menu card or with suggestions, maybe that what's the specialty and stuff. You go through the menu, you place your order, whatever you like. And this waiter, he delivers your order to the chef as on what specifications have you requested in your food and what are you planning to eat today. Okay. And again, the chef, he prepares your food according specifically to your request. Whether you told him to make it spicier, whether you told him to add more sweetness to your desserts or stuff. So he prepares your food accordingly, and then he sends the food back to you via the waiter again. Okay. So yeah, same is the analogy with APIs. APIs are what? APIs are, imagine tech giants like maybe Twitter or maybe Google. So you don't have a direct access to their code bases. You have access to their APIs. Just like the waiters, they provide a medium for communication between you and the chef indirectly. That's the use of APIs here in our day-to-day tech environment. What APIs do, they communicate your request to the servers. The Google or Twitter servers, maybe, who have the code bases, they won't share their codes directly with you, but you can interact with their codes using their APIs. So let's suppose this is the client here. We are the client. This is an API of, let's say, Twitter API for filtering out the comments. And this is a Twitter server. So what you'll do, you will make a request to the Twitter API to fetch the particular comment or to fetch any particular comment related to a particular topic from its databases. Obviously, Twitter won't give you access to whole of its database. So it'll ask you to use its API for the authentication. And then this API will carry forward your request to the server and will say that, yes, this client has made a request. And depending upon whether this API of Twitter, this API is a authenticated one or non-authenticated one. So now comes the notion of authentication. So what happens is, there are some APIs which are free to use. The uses of those APIs are not restricted to anyone. But again, there are some APIs whose usage have restrictions. I mean, you need to have a particular key, a particular value given from that company to use its API. So let's say that you don't have any authorization or authentication needed. It's a free API. So this API will say to the server that, yes, I need the following comments with this topic, related comments related to, let's say, the California wildfires. So yeah, the server will look up in its directories, and all the comments that are related to the California wildfire will be sent back to the client via this API again. So this was a basic intuition about what APIs is. Now these are some basic definitions. So APIs allow services to communicate with each other. Let's imagine that database is a service, and how your database communicates to the client via the APIs. Again, so your browser is a service. The database of the Twitter company, that's also a service. So these APIs, they help the services communicate between each other. And yeah, as softwares have become more and more complex and collaborative over the years, developers no longer need to create everything from scratch. Now, this is another important use of what APIs do. So imagine, imagine something like building blocks of the kids. Okay. So what do these building blocks do? They help you create stuffs like spaceships or towers or anything by just creating one block at a time, one over the another. So this is how your APIs work. APIs bring a sense of modularity in your software development process. It's like just you put together 2 or 3 blocks of different functions, and all the blocks, they come together to create a fully fledged software. So that's what APIs do in modern tech. Yeah. Now we can also say that API is something, technicality based. APIs do, like, they transfer the data between not only the systems but also the hardware. So I guess, yeah, many of you would be using Instagram or any one of the social networking sites. Maybe Snapchat. Snapchat is a popular one quite these days. So how many of you use them? Come on, let's make it an interesting event. Let me know in the chat section. How many of you use these. Yeah, you love Twitter. Great. And Instagrammer, anyone? Snapchat, filters, come on. Instagram. Good. Yeah. Deepshika loves Snapchat. Great. Okay. Again, Rajit loves Insta. Fine. Okay. So guys, so what my basic intuition about asking you this, Harshanand likes Instagram as well, I see. So what's the basic intuition of mine asking you about these social networking sites is, not that suppose you need to create an Instagram image. You need to take an image from the Instagram camera. So what this Instagram company do, it has an API, a hardware API which connects to your camera. I mean, this API from Instagram connects to your smartphone's camera. So this hardware API, now your phone's camera does not need to know the technicalities, the filters and kernel matrix and everything stuff going on behind the scenes. No, what your camera needs is just the implementation of this API. Now your camera, it will capture an image, it will feed to this Instagram API, and this API will apply its filters, all those weird faces and stuff, pouts and all. So yeah, it'll apply your filters to the images that your hardware has captured, and then it will send it back to the server. Now this API, this Instagram hardware API to this server API, this one is a private API. You don't know its implementation, and neither are you allowed to use it. I mean, obviously, why will Instagram allow you the direct access of their servers? It has all the personal photos of its members and its users. So whatever image you capture, it goes to the Instagram API. It applies the effects. It applies the filters from the libraries that are there already, and then it stores it to the server. So this is what a technical use of API can be. Okay. Now again, this servers. Now suppose. Again, now, so you have uploaded an image and now your friends want to see it. So what their apps library will do now, it will again use an API to fetch the contents. I mean, okay, so whenever you switch on your Instagram feed, there are always photos from your friends, from your close ones. So how does that come into being? So when you switch on your app, it makes a request to that Instagram server API to give it the, additionally newly added data of all your close friends to be shown on your feed. So yeah, this is the link from server to your friends. Okay, so in today's world, there's practically an API for everything. You name it and it's there. I mean, there's a cat API, and there's an API for flower images. There's this Open Weather Map API, a very commonly used one. There's the Spotify API to play songs by making requests. The Google API, obviously, and the Twitter API, which I recently talked to you about regarding the filtering the comments, and so many more. So many more. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this was the analogy I was talking about. APIs turn software into Lego bricks. Okay, this is an API. This is an API. This is an API. This is an API. All the four of them are APIs. So it's like what? Whenever you need to build a software, you don't need to code it basically from scratch. You can use the Open Weather Map API to give you data that are received from their hardwares, their sensors, and execute it in your program, in your software to display the user what's the weather like, suppose in Delhi and stuff. So now you may say that, okay, what's the need for this modularity? Now, if you think on a larger perspective, this modularity, this breaking up of things apart into APIs, it gives you a sense of control over what your software and what your system is actually performing and actually doing. I mean, let's say that you need to bring down your software and you need to transform just a part of it. I mean, let's say you need to transform the then an API which renders your UI. So what you need to do that? You just need to break this block. Let's suppose this orange block. This represents the API which renders your user interface. You just need to make changes in this block. You don't need to write everything from bottom up. Okay. Or if suppose you create some different API, a new version of your UI. So you will just detach this block from the software and then attach the new one. Okay. So that's modularity we're talking about. And yeah. Now, what is Postman? So everything behind that was about APIs. Now, what's Postman? So Postman is a collaborative API development platform that simplifies creating, using, and testing of APIs with a user interface. Now, you'll say like, yeah, how to develop APIs, how to test what are the responses of APIs. So all those things, they are simplified using the Postman platform. Okay. And almost 98% of the Fortune 500 organizations use Postman for API testing and deployment. And yeah, we'll obviously get to know a great deal about Postman when we'll start our hands-on lab. So be patient for a while. Okay. So most of you might have used this curl command line, or if not, yeah, it's outdated obviously. So this curl command line interface, these commands, they help us to get the responses. They help us to test our APIs, to get the responses from our APIs using the command line interface. And as you can see for yourself, see how hectic is this. I mean, yeah, you get to type if suppose this is just a request to a static API. I mean, if there are APIs who needs you to put some data into them. I mean, there are APIs who need you to put a quite large deal of data into the request that you're making. So in that case, this command even intensifies further. It goes further, and which is hectic to type. And as compared to it, you can see for yourself how nice and how easy, smooth flow it is in Postman. You just put this in here in the URL, select the appropriate method, and send the request, and this, yeah, you get here the response in the beautified format. Okay, so yeah, Postman surely helps us, surely has helped the world come a lot farther in the terms of using Postman, using APIs and developing the sense of modularity in the software development. Okay, now let's talk about request and responses. So request and responses are like it's natural. It's natural if you think it in that way. Suppose you make someone a request, like suppose you make a request to a class teacher that, ma'am, please, I just want to go outside and have a break. So what's the response you'll be getting from your teacher? Either it'll be, yeah, okay, you can go, or no, it's not valid. I mean, you're not allowed. So a request generally and obviously follows a response. So this same thing, the same intuition can be used in your API terminology as well. Let's see. So this is our client basically your browser. This is the server for any company, and this is the API, the layer which shields the server directly from the client access, and the layer which interacts as an intermediate between the client and the server. Okay, so this is any network, which is most commonly the internet itself. So now your client, it will make a request. Your browser will make a request to the server to give it some piece of data maybe, or to put some data into the server, or to update some data from the server, or to delete that data from the server. So these four are the basic example of request. Okay, we'll be talking about it a lot detail later. So these four are the basic types of requests that your client can make, and accordingly, these requests will generate a response. So request can be imagined as a verb. I mean, singing, dancing. So like this, a verb, an action that is being performed on the server. Okay. A request is an action that is being performed on the server via the client. Your Postman, this Postman tool, it needs to know that what kind of action is being performed by this request that I'm sending to the server. So you need to select the appropriate request. We'll see it soon. And yeah, so once the request is processed in the server, I mean, it can include anything, like any action that you have specified, updating data, deleting data, getting something from the server. So it can include anything. And then this API layer communicates the response back to the client. Now, there's a notion for, first of all, let's see making request. So what's the form? What's the general line of request for? Okay, let's see. There's someone here. Okay. So for making request, we first need to put together these three ingredients, namely method. Method, again, the action which the request will perform, be it get, post, whatever. Second being the address or the endpoint. The endpoint is a path on the internet where this request will be heard. Okay. So so how to to find the difference between an address and a path? So address can be imagined like let's say I'm in Patna. So my address is suppose Boring Road. So this address of Boring Road, it comprises of all the households that are in that locality, that are under the area that has been demarcated as Boring Road. Now, what is path? Path specifically refers to your house number. Let's say someone, I'll invite someone to my house and I'll just say that, yeah, I'm in Boring Road. I live in Boring Road. So he'll be on the road directly. Okay, he won't find where to look, which house specifically belongs to 𝗄𝗶𝘁𝗺. He won't know that unless and until I tell him the house number, that yes, I live in this house number. So then he'll filter out through all the houses that are present in the Boring Road locality, and then he'll pinpoint my exact house and come to me. So that's what actually URL addresses and paths means. So you just can't give a path and address there. You also have to specify a path, a particular path where your this API request will be heard. Okay. So method, address, and path. This was it. Now, see. So this is the bare minimum for a request. We'll see it soon. This Google search one is quite an interesting one. So yeah, we'll first specify here the type of request that we are making. The method, it's a GET request. What GET request is? GET request is requesting the browser to send you something back. Okay, send you something back in the sense any resource, like let's suppose a page. Okay, whenever you search for any topic on the google.com, googlesearch.com, it basically renders you back the web page. So you're making a GET request. You're making a GET request each and every time that you are searching for something on the Google search. So this is your method GET, and then you'll specify the URL being http://google.com, and this /search is the path. Point to be noted, URL comprises only starting from h till .com/, and then this search is the path where specifically your GET request will be listened, and then we'll click on send button. Okay. So now GET is used for retrieving information, just as I said. Post is used for sending information. Put and patch, they're used for updating information. Now there's a gray line difference between put and patch. Actually, we'll talk about it soon once we see delete. So delete is used obviously for deleting information. Now, what's the difference between put and patch? First, let's see, we have already seen GET, and now let's see post. Post is used to send an information to a server. Okay. If suppose the server does some computation, let's say the server does some computation on two numbers, you send him two numbers, A and B, and he'll return the output A plus B. So there you need to make a post request. There you need to define the values of the variables A and B, which the computation are to be performed upon. Unless and until you define these A and B variables, the values of A and B variables, how will the server know what to calculate, what to compute? Okay, it just can't return you any bogus output. It needs to know what numbers are being passed so that he can add. So that method of sending some information to the server, that's known as post request. Now put and patch. Suppose I did save a message in my server. Okay, how many of you use Discord here? Let me know. Discord, people. Let's make it an interesting one. Come on, yeah, Paritosh sir, Harshanand, Rohit Kadan, good, Rachit, Anchal ma'am. Okay, yeah. So in the Discord chat app, you might have seen there's an option for editing your message. Whatever message you have sent, there's an option for editing your message. So now that is where this put and patch request comes into play. Now suppose you have posted a message in the Discord server. Your message is posted using the post request. Well and good. Now, if you need to update your message, okay, let's admit. Okay, so if you need to update your message, you need to give it a put or a patch request. So now you'll see that, yeah, put and patch both are used for updating. What's the difference? The difference lies in the way that the put and the patch request makes it. I mean, for putting a request, for putting a message, I mean, for updating using put request, you need to provide the whole message again. Okay, suppose I write a message and suppose I want to capitalize something. So it's obviously not suitable to, in fact, rewrite the whole message and then put it back. So that's how put works. It basically updates. For updating a message, you need to send the whole body back. And patch request works on just a specific point. I mean, you need to patch whatever you need to update. Just that you need to patch. Okay, I mean, for any IDs, let's suppose we have a register maintained for students. Okay, register server which registers and maintains the data of all the students in a school. So for each student, you have, let's say, 3 fields: a roll number, an email, and a name. Okay, roll number, email, and name. So ideally, when you post a data for a student, it gets posted and stored in a server. Now, for instance, you need to update the ID of a particular student. So if you'll go and use this post request, this put request, sorry, if you go and use this put request, you need to put all the data again for that student whose email ID you want to update. For not just you'll not just be able to grab that email ID section and then patch it. I mean, then update it. You'll need to resend the whole data back. Okay, ID, I mean roll number, email ID, and name. All the 3 will be updated together. But for patch specifically, you can just select that email ID and then update it. And then this delete request is used for deleting the information. Okay, moving ahead. So yeah, this HTTPS in this one, it serves as a protocol, the scheme of request. It's basically, the method of requesting that you use, HTTPS. S stand for secured connection. Now this www.google.com is the address of the server host. And this path specifically is the destination where your requests will be heard. Okay. Now, there are certain APIs which require you to specify some details. Now, details in the sense, I mean, let's say that you use the Google search API. So what you would do there? You go to the search bar and you type something, isn't it? You type something which you need to search about, any specific topic. Let's say if I search songs, so it will first go through all the songs and render me the most trending outputs. But if I say songs from the 80s, so it will filter again through all those songs and return me the songs that were sung in the 80s. So that's how you can query. Those are known as query parameters. Something which lets you filter through the responses, through the response being sent by the server. That's known as a query parameter. And again, it comes authorization. So as I talked about authorization, some APIs require you to give some keys in order to use them. So for such APIs, you will be using authorization tokens and headers and body. So yeah, I mean, body just now specified an example, a hypothetical example of a registration server which registers students of a school. So when you are registering a student, when you're making a post request, what you'll use for and updating and adding an information in the first place, you'll use a post request. So if you're making a post request to a server for adding a new student, so you will need to provide obviously the data for the student that are being added. So that data is known as body. Okay. So whatever goes into the body of the request is, mostly for the use of storing in the database of the server. Okay. And headers can contain any specific secret passwords or secret keys that you need to send along with your body or along with your request, that can be stored in headers in the form of environment variables. And going on ahead. Okay, so this is the request body, the data payload, the data that is being sent with the request. Optional, obviously it's optional, but it's often supplied with post and put request. Why? Because post and put request require you to update certain data or add data. So you'll obviously have to send some data. So that's sent in the body. Okay. I'm sorry for the disturbance here. So now the data types. The types of the data that are sent in the request body are known as data types. It can include maybe form data, JSON, the most widely used one, plain text also. Suppose you need to store a data in the form of text somewhere on the server. Like just say a data for you're building any random mock server for storing codes, let's say. So you'll need to pass the data as text. Okay. Paritosh sir, excuse me. I'm audible, sir? Okay, I guess he's not there. It's okay. Okay, so there are different types of data that can be used with the post and the put request and the request body. And going ahead, this is the most widely used JSON. So JSON is JavaScript object notation. Object is what? Object is a collection of behaviors. Object is a collection of data members. When you say about data members, let's suppose student is an object. And what are the data members of a student? His roll number, his email ID, his name and stuff, his address. So those are the data members of an object. So when you are defining an object as a JSON, you are passing the name. These are the keys and these are the values. The first ones that are highlighted in orange here, they are called the keys. They are the fields of your data. If suppose I am passing student as an object, so what will be the this key here? First key will be name, obviously. Second can be email. Third can be roll number. Fourth can be address. And so that's how you go with your JSON requests and receiving responses. Now, imagine that you go to your teacher, as I've stated in the beginning. Imagine you go to your teacher and ask him or her that, sir, I need to drink water. May I be allowed the permission to go out and refill my bottle? And the teacher just stands there still, okay, without any response. He just stands and stare you. So that will obviously be an awkward moment for you. It's nothing happening is productive here. You're just standing in front of your teacher. You just said him and he's just not replying anything, not responding anything. That's awkward for sure. So what conventionally follows is, for any request that's made, you should give a response. Same is the case with our servers. For any request, be it get request, post request, put request, any requests that are made. So it's conventional that our servers return us the response. So these responses, the responses tend to help us know whether our request was successful or if there was an error. So what was the cause for that error in our request? So these are status codes that are returned. 200, it simplifies okay. 201, created. 404, the most common one, not found. And the response can also include some body data. Now, let's suppose when I talked about that server which will add two numbers that we pass, so it will obviously return a response, isn't it? It will obviously return something that you have provided, and after the addition operation, it will return you back the data. So that can be a body data of the response. Okay, now let's begin with the fun part, isn't it? So first of all, do let me know that how many of you have actually created that Postman account. In the message that was circulated, it was told that for a better experience for hands-on lab as well, you could create a Postman account beforehand. So please do let me know. Yep. And two of you. Okay, so it's not a big deal. It will just take you about 2 minutes. You can directly sign in from Google as well. Wait, I'll just share you the link for this. Yep. Yeah. So open the chat section, and there I have pasted this link. So I have pasted this link to get you started with a Postman account. And yeah, please everyone, if you wish to follow me, if you wish to get a better experience and follow the hands-on lab, so yeah, you can click this page and get your Postman ID up and running fast. You can directly use the Google sign-in also. It's available there. So if any one of you is following with me and willing to create the Postman account, please do let me know in the chat once you create it. I'll be waiting. Paritosh sir, are you still not able to unmute yourself? Achal ma'am, please can you confirm that whether or not you're able to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I'm unable. Yeah, I'm able to unmute myself.
Okay. Okay, so if anyone wishes to speak up something or has any doubts regarding creating this Postman account, so you can feel free to drop it in the chat box here. I'll help you out. Okay, so I hope that almost all of you might have created it till now. So now to begin with the start workshop session, let's first open it. So please everyone go ahead in the chat section, and there I have pasted a link for our workspace for today. And yeah, open it please, and we'll at once begin with our session. Okay, so for now, I'll be switching off my video so that it doesn't interfere with my network connection when I'm sharing my screen for the hands-on lab. So and for any doubts that you might encounter during the course of this lab, you may just drop it quickly in the chat and let me know. Okay, so yeah. So did you guys open it? Did you guys open up the workspace for today's lab? Yeah, Rachit has opened up. Okay, so Rachit, go to this section, Basics of API. Click on this first one, Basics of API. And any one of you who are following along, you please let me know. Yeah, Amit is following us. 𝗤𝗶𝘁𝗁𝗁 also. Okay. Okay, so request to all of you, once you open that link, go to this one. First one, click here, Basics of API. Okay. Click here, Basics of API. You can click here, Basics of API, and then fork this repository. Okay. Okay, so I'm not signed in here, I guess. Wait, let me just sign in. Yeah, just a second. Okay. So please everyone click here on this fork button and create a fork. So what actually a fork is, now let's imagine that you're working on any project. Okay. So if there's a project that you're working upon and it has a lot number of contributors who are together working upon it, so you won't want to spoil the content or spoil the code that is already present. I mean, obviously as a developer you may always encounter some discrepancies in the code or some problems, so you don't want to, I mean, just hamper it or tamper anything. So what you do, you make your own, experiment with it, and once that local code is I mean good to go, then you make a pull request to merge it back into the actual project. So this is why we'll be creating a fork here, every one of us. Please everyone let me know whether or not you have created a fork. Yep. Then for creating the fork here, you just need to, I mean, click here, basics of API. First of all, create this button, create a fork. Again, this one, this button to create a fork, and give it a label. Let's say if I give here 𝗔𝗶𝘁𝗁 API 101. Now this doesn't need to be unique. You should know this, that this label doesn't need to be unique. You can basically give it anything. It will be your copy. It will just be visible to you and you can make your changes in this workspace. Okay. So put it a label here, choose the workspace. By default, it's my workspace itself, and click here, fork collection. Okay. So now it's fork. Let's wait. Try to see. Yeah, it's now forked in my local. So as you can see, this is my local. It's my URL. It's my user interface, my account for Postman, and I have this basics of API as forked as here as 𝗔𝗁 API 101. Now, is everyone there with me? Come on, you can also unmute yourself, guys. Anyone facing any problem in this fork thing, forking and stuff and all? Anyone? Okay, if not, then let's continue. Okay, so now you can, okay, so now when you're here, when you're forked it, now click on this right button when you see documentation. So what documentation is? Documentation is basically to let you know anything that you can do with an API or that you can do with a project. So thanks to the Postman team, they have already created a well documented API for us. Okay, so Mustafa. Okay. So thanks to the Postman team again, they have already created a well-documented API for us. So again, this is the documentation button which I'm talking about. This one, first one in the right side. Click on the documentation here and you'll be good to go. So what we have here, the endpoint URL. The endpoint URL being postmanstudentheroku.app.com. Now, for this API session, we'll be actually having three parts. I mean, quote, joke, or book. Now, there are three APIs that have been given to us for the experimentation purpose, for the practical purpose, the Codes API, the Jokes API, or the Books API. Now, for a quick poll, I'll let every one of you decide that what you want, which API to work upon. Come on. Let's discuss in the chat. The Jokes API, the Books API, or the Codes API. Codes, good. Books API. Anyone else? Which API should we work upon? Quotes, books, or jokes? Books. Good. Okay. So books it is, I guess. Let's start with the books API then. Okay. So now all these paths that have been listed here, they'll be able to handle the request like get, post, put, and delete. So how to use an API? For using an API at the beginning, by default, we have a get request already present here. So you can click on this get. This is the get request that already present here. Apart from get request, you can also add post, delete, and put request as we move further, as we advance further ahead in the session. Okay. So like we have the get request for a joke path. So wherever, now suppose we have decided to work with the book API. So what we'll do, wherever we have this /joke, /joke here with us, we'll just change it to book. Okay. Let's see. Now for making our first request, the get request, what we need to do is we need to make a get request to this endpoint URL. Let's copy this link address and go to this get request. Add the URL here and this path. What will the path here for? Like for joke, it's for jokes, it's joke. So for books, it will be book. The method, get method, this is the request, this is the URL, and this is the path, book path, and we'll make a get request here. So what you get is a response. What you get is a response and whose body can be viewed with this bottom pane. Okay, so yeah, now here what we'll see here is a status code, the 200 okay, which seems perfect and good to go. We are good to go with our apps and our API session. And this time, 64 millisecond, this is basically to let you know the latency. The latency, it can be used for development purposes, that to test your API's response and all. So here are the various formats that the body can be viewed in. First one is pretty, second is raw, third is preview. Now, let's suppose you are basically working with the age-old curl curl command line request library for making the API request. So there, what you'll receive is something like this: the raw format of the body. But Postman, on the other hand, it lets you preview, it lets you view that response in a beautiful manner. Creating a tree structure of your response. So if suppose I had 2 to 3 author names here, so again, they would also be in a format of an object within an object, and in front of this author key will again have an indentation. It would have been again indented, and those 2 authors would be listed there. So yeah, it beautifies the way you visualize your response. Okay, that's it. Now, again, we can also specify, yeah, this is the documentation here. We can also specify the actual index of the book that we want to fetch. So by default, as of now, there are 4 books listed in this book API, index going 0 to 3. So we can make this request here. Let's say / and now book index. Let's start with 3 first. Okay, get request, this path, and this index for the book. Make a send request. Okay, we get this one, Steve Jobs. Okay, and let's see what happens if we give it a 4 here. Okay, book not found, error code 404. So this is what 404 actually means, something that you can visualize using Postman, that this URL that was specified, book index 4, this full path, it is not found. Okay, and here you can see the response, book not found, pretty clear. Now, this was get request. I hope everyone is following along. Any doubts, you may put it there in the chat section. Zoom your screen, it's hard to see. Okay, sure, Kush. So here you see, sorry, get data. Okay, here as you can see, we are making this URL. We are using this URL for making a request, making a get request to the server, to that books API, to send us a book which is at index 4. Okay, now when we make this send request, we get a response from the API, that book not found. Why is the book not found? Because as we have started our session, now there are only 3 books in that API, index 0 to 3. And this is your status code, 404 not found, which means that yes, your book is not present in our server. Okay. Now, Kush, is it visible clearly now? Was it visible clearly what I was explaining? Come on, you may respond. You may unmute yourself. Okay. It's okay. So I guess it's good now. So again, this was our get request. Now we'll move ahead with the next request being the post request. So post request is for what? Post request is for posting something, posting a new data to your server, to your API. Now, to send a new request, post request will again append this joke with book, because we are using the book API. And for posting a book, for posting the name of a new book, what we need to specify? We need to specify the fields. Okay, so like this was a joke API. So this was the how we post in the joke API. But if we see our book API, let's see what are the fields common in our book API. I'll get a dummy. Yeah. So what we see here are that any of our books that have been stored in the database, they contain 4 parameters, 4 keys. First one being the ID, second being the author, third being the book name, and fourth being the link. Okay. Now, what we need to do is we need to copy this schema. Okay, we'll copy this schema and we'll change the request to post. Now what this gonna do? This is going to post. Okay, this one. We'll change the request. This is the arrow key here. You can get a whole lot of requests, but we'll be using the post one, post request, and we'll be copying this schema that was received earlier from our get request. So basically, to let us make a valid request to our API server. So this was schema, and for the post request, we change it to post. Now, our path. Let's see. In the documentation, we need to specify just this path. We need to add just that /book at the end of our URL, at the end of this URL, this one, postman.student.herokuapp.com. We just need to add a book and make a post request there directly. So here, as you can see, we have changed the method to post, and this is a URL, this is the path. And now we need to add a body here for making a post request. So we'll go here in the body section here. Everyone, please confirm. Are you following along? Was the get part clear? Okay, yeah. Get part was clear. Now we are moving to posting the request. So yes, we'll change the request to post here, provide the path, and click on body here, raw, body, then raw, and then JSON. We'll change this data type being to JSON, because we know what, yeah, obviously we need to provide that JSON input here in the form of JSON. So we paste that copied thing which we copied here, and we change the fields here. Let's see. So up till now, the IDs of the book present were 0 to 3. So let's suppose I'll give it an ID of 4, and author, let's change the author to why not me. Okay. And the book name being book name, yeah, due to copyright issues, I can use just a random name. Why not random book? Okay. Link. Or now we'll leave the link field blank, I guess. We don't need to provide a link here. So this is our body, comprised of the ID of the book that will be adding, the author name, the book name, and the link. So now what all we need to do is just make a send request. Make send. Okay, good. Now we have this status here, 201. What does it say? 201 created. The request has been fulfilled and resulted in a new resource being created. So what does this mean? This basically means that yes, this JSON object has been added to your server, to your API server database. This one, book with ID of 4, author name 𝗔𝗶𝘁𝗵, and book name any random book. Now, as a matter of fact, you can visualize also what books have been added. Let's see. Got it? Okay, Rachit has already made a book, random book. Great, Rachit. And this is my book, random book by Shivam Jha, random book by Rachit Suneja. And these were all the default ones, index 0 to 3, that are already present there. So, yes. Okay, so now I'll encourage, in fact, each one of you to try and make a request. Try and make something. Try and post a book into our server, and I'll let you see there whether or not your request has been fulfilled and a book has been created or not. Come on, everyone. I'm waiting. Let's just wait for 2 minutes. Guys, come on. Yeah, I can see responses here. That's great. Anyone else? Okay, so let's see now. What all have you got? Yeah, Deepshika, let's wait. Okay, so these are the books that have been added newly. Intro by Deepshika and Ombre Own, I don't know, by Anki. Great, guys. Great, guys. So as you can see for yourself here, these are the books that have been added new. These were the ones. Now, let's see. If this was 0, this was 3, 4, 5th, 6th. Now, let's try and get, let's see, Anke's books, 7th book. Okay. So what I'll do here, I'll again just change this method to get. Okay. And I'll place here 7. Now, ideally, I should get in return Anki's books. Okay. If I made a get request, yeah, you can see. Okay, so it's Deepshika. I'm sorry. It's Deepshika. So let's say 8. Book not found. Okay. Okay. I don't know what's not showing. Let's see 6. Why not? I don't know. So yeah, as you can see that those newly added books also, they are being able to fetched here. So that was about the post request. Now we'll move ahead to the put request. Okay. What basically is a put request now? So as you know, put is used for updating the piece of data that has already been sent to your API, that's already been stored in your API. Now, for similar to making a post request, you need to put in the entire object that you are trying to update in the body of a request, leaving the ID as is, but make the changes that you want to make. Okay. So as you can see here, what we'll do is, for making the put request, we'll go back to our requests, and here we'll let's say, okay, let's suppose I made the request for 4th book. Okay, this was my book. I'll copy the book details here. I'll now change this method to put. Okay. I'll change this method to put here, and in the body I'll add. Now let's say that I need to append I need to alter the name of my book. So ID will remain as is, and this book name will be appended to new. Okay. And now if I make the request 404 not found, cannot put book 4. Okay. Sorry, I'm sorry. It needs to be sent on this one. Yeah. So it has now been updated. Now if you'll go here and refresh this view one, now you'll see that the name of my book has been updated, random book new. So now what was the issue here? What was the error that was thrown in at initial stages? What that this path which I was using, for updating my book was not correct. So for updating your book, the path that was specified here was just postman student.herokuapp.com/book, and I was adding an additional 4 there, so it was not happening. But now it happened, and I received this 204, which basically means okay, and no content. I mean, no body was returned here, so that's it. Now, again, documentation. This documentation again, a lot of thanks to Postman. I mean, this documentation stuff really makes it easier for us to go through in a guided manner about what these apps are and how to like use them in APIs. Now, the last one being a delete. So what does this delete do? Obviously, it deletes that request, that joke or that book or that quote here, in this case, that you have put under the server of the database of your API. Now, if you, so what's written here, to delete a joke, you need to specify that path, that URL, and the path will be /book/ID of book. For example, /book/3. Now, again, if I want to delete my book, so what was the ID of my book? Again, up till here, any doubts, anyone? Amit Kumar, it's 56. Okay, the ID for your book is 56. Okay, yeah. So I thought maybe it was in an indexed order, so I was not able to get it. Any doubts, anyone, up till here? Let me know, please. Clear? Thank you. Okay. So now when we talk about deleting, let's see. The ID of my book is 4. And I'll go to this method, change it to delete book / the ID of my book. And now when I send this request here, so what it says, 200 okay, and what's the response? Book with ID 4 is now deleted. So what does this signify? This signifies that the delete request that you made to this specified path to the book with index ID 4 has been deleted from your database. Okay. Now, if I go ahead and let's say, okay, so if I go ahead and refresh this view, yeah, you can see my book's gone. Again, now, why not Rachit? You also try. Anki, you also try with this delete request. Let's see. All of you, please, guys. Okay, yeah. Well done, Rachit. It's not deleted. Okay. So that was the last of our requests, which are going to cover in this. Again, there are also several other requests also. You could have also used a patch request to just update the particular part of your data of your book or a joke. Now, with making request with the code path, okay, this was just the code and the book, and yes. Now we have completed with our following basic requests, 4 basic requests, and now I'll stop the sharing here. Okay, and yeah. So okay. So where were we? This was the last slide that we left off. The slide for our hands-on and practical session. Now, having finished with our practical sessions, I hope that all of you got to know a great deal about what APIs is and what are the, basic methods that work upon an API. And you really got to visualize that how an API makes this response and request things easier, and how this Postman tool helps you verify your responses, your request, and it can also help you debugging it. If suppose there's an error code being received, Postman will let you know in great detail that why this error code has arisen and what does this mean. And for there are also several ML APIs, machine learning APIs also, and Postman also provides you with a visualize section to get the visualization of the data that ML API specifically in specific that has sent you back. It can, you can plot out certain quite nice graphs there to visualize the responses of the data that has been received from a statistical server. Okay, so this was our session on our hands-on lab. Now, quick recap. What did we do? We learned about methods, we learned about addresses, we learned about parameters, query parameters, and we learned about authorization and what's the body data that is being passed into an API. Now, this sums up the hands-on and practical lab of our session, and the main objective to conduct this session was to promote the sense of API literacy in my peers, in you people, and to motivate you to get started with your journey in this amazing field of API. So here we present before you this student expert program by Postman. Now, this student expert certification indicates that you are proficient in essential skills involved in building and testing APIs in Postman, including sending more sophisticated requests and editing documents, writing basic test script. Obviously, you can write the test scripts also to test the response of your API and to provide certain stipulated and certain condition restricted body in your API to see what the response that you get, and running collections and passing data between requests, and have the option to become a student leader in your community. Now, this student expert is a prerequisite for the student leader program. Student leader allows you to preach and to communicate the knowledge about API and get everyone involved in this latest developing trend of API literacy that's going on, and a revolution which is basically brought about by Postman company. So yeah, this was about the Postman student expert program, and all of you can get a badge to showcase yourself in the LinkedIn. I mean, who doesn't want it? That yeah, you got a certificate. It's kind of certificate, a credential that yeah, a test has been carried out and you have passed the test on basics of API and testing and script and all. So yes, you can apply here for this program. I'll copy this link and paste it here in the chat section, just so that you guys. Okay, so yes, you can open it up for later use, please, this student expert program. And obviously, I'll be more than happy to guide you in anything that you may encounter while applying for the program, or anything that you don't understand. There are documentations also as well. There are resources also to let you know that how to get started with this student expert training, and what are the several methods, what are the several features that the Postman tools offer you. I mean, Postman is like one of the most well-documented sites out there. So even you saw for yourself that how in this APIs also we have that documentation, so quite good. In fact, the documentation was separate for jokes as well as books as well as quotes, and it was nice. So all the help that you require, you'll get here on this Postman documentation regarding the student expert program. And apart from that, you can also message me or contact me if you get any issues regarding the enrollment stuff. So now comes the interesting part: win amazing swags. Okay. Now, I have for you a task. All the attendees here, all of them who have gained, I guess, who have gained a substantial amount of knowledge from this session, what you can do is you have two options to get your swags from Postman. First one, that you create your own public workspace, and with API collection, you can choose any API collection that you want. Okay, so create your own public workspace, choose any API collection that you want, any publicly available API collection, I mean, which are up there for experimentation purposes. And on that, you make 4 separate requests: a get request, a post, a put, and a delete request, and show the implementation of all your requests. How did you implement? And if suppose there are some authorization APIs, then you can surely get help from the Postman documentation again, that where to put those authorization tokens. So any API which you find comfortable to use or play with, you just pick it up and create your own space in the Postman, your own workspace on Postman, and play with this API. Okay, make some different requests and all, and exactly at 24 hours from now, exactly at 24 hours from the ending of this session, we'll be circulating a form. So what you need to do is you need to fill up the link to your workspace, and then it will be evaluated by Postman employees there, and people from Postman, they will evaluate that how what API have you used, and have or not you used everything that was basically presented in this session. All the knowledge have you used or not, and how creative have you been with the usage. That also matters. So that will be evaluated by Postman, and then if you pass, then if you succeed, if you did something creative, and if you did apply all the knowledge that you have gathered in the session, then you'll be getting some cool stacks from Postman. Or alternatively, you can go for step 2. So what step 2 is? So you'll be able to write a blog, or you need to write a blog or a post or a feed on what you gained out of this experience, this post API 101 workshop, and paste it on LinkedIn maybe, and your favorite platform, LinkedIn, Medium, anywhere, and use these hashtags in particular: Postman student and Postman. Okay, Postman student and Postman API. Okay, so yeah, you can tag me also in that post, and you need to describe that what you have learned and how you're going to implement it, and what are the amazing stuffs, that ideas that you have thought of regarding the session. So again, submit your blog URL to me, and when I'll be receiving the response from Postman, I'll select the most interesting and the most upvoted and liked ones, and yeah, those will also be eligible to get swags from Postman. So go on ahead and share your learnings anywhere with this hashtag Postman student, and I hope that further also, if you are interested, then we can host such sessions. So that this was an introductory session, API 101. What we can do is we can further advance these sessions to like API 102, API 103. So these are that basically specific task oriented sessions. So that also can be conducted if you people are interested. And yeah, okay, so that also can be done. And again, we have these learning resources here: learning.postman.com, explorepostman.com, and communitypostman.com. So what I'll do is, in that link, link that will be circulated, that form that will be circulated for giving your public workspaces link or your blogs link, in that link I'll include these resources also. These resources will be included to more or less get you started anytime you need to feel that yeah, you are now ready to give that Postman student expert training. You are not ready for that Postman student expert training, you can refer to these resources and get the best of knowledge that's available out there regarding the use of Postman and regarding the APIs. And now the floor is open for Q&A session. Please feel free to unmute yourself. It's okay. It's okay. If you have any doubts, you can also put it in the chat section. Yeah, put it in the chat section, or you may unmute yourself. You can talk, or you can also share your experience. How was the session, and what all you learned about it, about Postman and about APIs? Sorry. Yeah. Anyone? Thank you, Rajat. Okay. So yeah, thanks, Deepshika. You can unmute yourself also, Rajat. Come on, let's talk. Okay, so what I'll be doing now is I'll be just sharing a link in the chat section. It's basically a feedback link, something which Postman requires for itself to get better at further events. So let me share the feedback form with you. Okay. Yeah. In the chat section, go ahead, and there we have this session's feedback form, and it will basically help me and Postman also to conduct further better events in the future, and let them know about how the event was, and let them know that yes, what all can be added extra in this event, and how did you guys feel it, whether or not you learned something substantial. So yeah, please open it up and for your future reference, because after this meeting this link will be gone. So yeah, we can also do one thing. We can also share it along with that form for that form that will be circulated for receiving the link to your LinkedIn feeds and your public workspaces. So guys, again, that's a great opportunity. I mean, who doesn't like to showcase something that you have got as a reward? So yeah, all the best for that swags thing. And all you need to do is just either write a blog related on any social media related to what you have learned in this event, or you need to create a public workspace, take an API, any API which you like, okay, and perform these basic elementary output, post, get, and delete operations on that API, and share that workspace, public workspace link in the form that will be circulated. And as for now, in the chat section again, I have circulated the feedback form, which will help us to get better at these events. And please, everyone, do fill it. And yeah, so I hope that you might have pasted this link for data reference. So, okay. So that was it for the event. And thank you everyone for joining. And again, if there are any questions, I'm still open. Or if not, then we can wind up the session. Okay, so I guess there are no more questions left here. So I'll just stop the recording.